This is Dan Dix here, reporting for Press for Truth. Today is Wednesday, November the 28th, 2018, and it's been a pretty rough week for investors. A lot of the markets are down. The stock market is down. The automotive industry is suffering right now. The cannabis space is down, even though we're post-legalization here in Canada. And the cryptocurrency market is taken a pretty big hit in the last week. In fact, it's actually bounced back a little bit in the last 24 hours, Bitcoin in particular being up again back to the over $4,000 levels. So it's down but not out. So a lot of extreme volatility here. So joining me on the line today to help us break this down and help us understand what's happening in the markets is our good friend Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media. And Josh, thanks for joining us, man. So much going on this week, heavy volatility. I want to get your views on what's happening. Obviously, there's not any one particular catalyzing event that we can point to as a triggering moment, but what would you say are some of the key factors here as to why we're seeing some of these dips and crashes and even panic sell-offs in the crypto space?
Yeah, it's due to a few reasons. So last December, I called the 20K top for Bitcoin. I told people to sell off, and then December 18th hit, and we know what happened next. It was a huge sell-off due to a huge bubble, mostly propped up through speculation via the hand of people flooding things like Dentacoin with $4 billion market cap for some reason. And it was the same thing that we saw during the dot-com bubble. It was that 5% of the currencies were really good, 5% of the infrastructures were really good, but then 95% were really bad, and it brought down the whole market as an entirety. Well, right after December 18th, I called a $4,800 bottom as my first bottom. I said that 9,800 wouldn't hold, and then after that, my second bottom was 3,600, and my third was 2,800. People can go back to my videos December and January to look at that, and it broke past the 4,800 bottom, and the reason for that was the futures expired. So the futures on Wall Street expired, and I've often said people buy the announcement and sell the release, and we've seen that countless times, including last year and again just recently. And honestly, I think that what we've seen in the crypto market in this last week and a half, 2 weeks, has been crucial for the market, because for the last, I guess, a few weeks, for a few months, really, we've been bouncing between 6,000 and 6,800 Bitcoin, and it's been super annoying to deal with. Trading sideways, you can't make any money off the market, and you can't really speculate what comes next. So when the futures expired, we saw the market tank. And today, as we speak, on the 28th, we are seeing Bitcoin climb more than 15.5% just over the last 24 hours. But I'm not 100% sure we're at our bottom yet, though it does feel like the good old days right now, where we are seeing like 15% gains every day. I remember, Dan, you and I went out for dinner last October 2017 when Bitcoin hit $5,800 for the first time. And we're like, oh, man, this is amazing. Well, obviously, we climbed up the ladder. A lot of us, it was just natural. We got greedy. It was like, oh, this is going to the moon. It's going to change everything right now. I think the moral of the story is it will change things down the road, but it's not ready for mass adoption. When your grandma's telling you to buy Bitcoin and she doesn't even know what a blockchain is, it's the same thing as we saw in 1929, Great Depression, where some shoeshine boy was telling a big Wall Street trader to buy this and buy that. I think a big factor that's playing in right now, Dan, is that people are selling off in the stock market, which wiped out its yearly gains. The bond markets are not looking good. Forex trading isn't good. And I feel like a lot of people were taking profits out of crypto, which they bought into. Institutional investors really flooded the market around 2,800 to 3,600, hence my bottoms. And for that reason, we saw a massive amount of money flooding out of the market. And I think we're going to see a massive amount of money flood into the market now. But the time will tell, because we bounced off that 3,600 bottom that I talked about. I think it can still go down to 2,800 despite recovering up almost to 4,400 now.
Wow, 2,800 is probably a scary sounding bottom to some, but you almost kind of need this capitulation at this point. Basically, it's not necessary, but this is what is going to be necessary in order for us to see those parabolic rises like we saw last year, as you said. So, I think it was the Rothschilds who once said that, it's when there's blood in the streets is when you want to be buying the dip, as they call it. But, is there a healthy way right now to deflate this everything bubble, I suppose we can call it, because look, like these bubbles are inflating, and we they are going to pop unless it's dealt with in a healthy way. Maybe popping it is the healthy way to go. Is there a way to slow this current trend right now that's happening globally?
Well, honestly, I don't want it to slow down. I think the most important thing that we could possibly see, and people say I'm chaotic and what I'm saying is dangerous, but I believe that this entire market needs to crash sooner than later. The more we put it off, the worse it's going to be. So I want to see this market go down. And even with crypto, if there's a bubble, we need to deal with the bubble. And interestingly enough, everyone's super bullish on things like Bitcoin when it's at 19 to 20K, when they should be super bearish, by the way. But then everyone's super bearish when it's at 3,600 to 4,800, which is when you should be bullish, because when it's at the bottom, that's when you buy. And we saw that in the stock market. We saw that in the real estate bubble in the late 2000s. And what I find interesting was that, people were super scared to get back into the housing market after, housing prices in Las Vegas, for example, dropped from like 250,000 on average to like 60 something thousand, which was a massive, massive crash. Everyone was like, oh, I don't know if I want to buy. I could still keep going down. And it could. But that's where the risk comes in, because if you're investing on a market, you are risking, and you have to understand this isn't, all fun and games. Like a lot of people in the crypto market got in and they're like, oh, well, I'll just make money fast. Well, it's not fun and games. It's very risky. It's very volatile, but you're basing your faith on something that I do believe will change the world forever. And that is a crypto market, that not just a currency side of it, but the infrastructure technology, which is creating replacements for so much of the things we see around the world, all while you see these countries like China and India attacking decentralized cryptocurrency and pushing centralized digital currencies. And, there's this war, monetary war happening right now. But the free market always wins. The free market is always more efficient. So I have a lot of faith going forward. But again, folks, if you don't understand the market, please do your own due diligence. Don't base anything you do on what I say or anyone says. You have to get your mind around this, because understanding money is being able to have control of your money rather than the money masters having control of you.
Well, a lot of people thought they were pretty wise when they were investing in the FANG stocks, and now we're seeing this legacy tech fall apart. I mean, because of all the scandals and the censorship issues, we're seeing, Facebook, Amazon, Google, a lot of these guys are starting to fall apart. And, I guess, are we starting to see the undoing of the tech world, and perhaps this is that fork, if you will, that time when it's time to look to new alternative sources of technology, like blockchain technology? I mean, what do you think about the current state of these major tech firms who seem to be crashing and burning right now?
100% hit the nail on the head right there. One of the biggest issues, and I was talking about this earlier this year before Facebook stock fell, we saw the FANG stocks go up on average 677% from 2008, which is over the top bubble territory. We're talking, these companies that haven't really innovated in the last 5 years. They've, like Twitter and Facebook, what have they really done to make, Facebook better for the user? Nothing. They've done everything possible to censor people, push people away, anger people on both sides, because they're not just censoring the right, by the way. They're censoring libertarians. They're censoring liberals, too, believe it or not, on Facebook. And I know Matt Taibbi just came out with a great article in Rolling Stone magazine chronicling people from all over the spectrum just getting shoved out as spam content. As you know, you got purged, Dan. And you were one of many anti-media, Free Thought Project, all that kind of stuff. So I think that it goes without saying that these companies are attacking their own users, which the market is going to respond to that. And at the same time, when they're not innovating, that is some of the most bubbled stock that I could possibly imagine. So I think that they will crash and burn. And I think that we are seeing great infrastructures replacing them. The problem is we got to stay out of an echo chamber. We got to move towards these alternatives in the smartest way possible, not speculate, not hope to make big money fast, but look at the technology itself, what it can provide humanity, what we can do to innovate and change the world for the better, because we lost it in a lot of ways on the internet. We allowed it to get more centralized. We allowed it to become, this massive thought control mechanism because we were too concentrated on what's convenient in the short term instead of what's good in the long term. And we need to focus, whether it be cryptocurrencies or decentralized blockchain technology, on making sure it works properly for us, it is innovative, it changes the world for the better, instead of speculating on how am I going to make a ton of money right now and become super rich, because that'll come with the territory down the road. But more importantly is, how can we free humanity from the chains that so much of humanity so much reveres? And in that, with the blockchain technology, we can free humanity even if humanity doesn't want to be freed, which is one of the most amazing parts of the blockchain technology, is that you don't need everyone on the same page, hating the government or hating giant banks and stuff like that. The technology will do the job for us and change the world for the better. So one of the most important things that we could focus on is that, and not, how we might become super successful and super rich fast, because that is what brings down every bubble.
Yeah. Well, in closing, since we're talking about more solutions here, what's your take? I'm sure you're still bullish on gold and silver, as as we all should be. I mean, we know with the coming dollar crash, it's a good way to hedge your bets for such a thing. But what do you see going on right now with the gold and silver markets? And is this, in your opinion, still a healthy place to hedge your bets?
We have seen the silver and gold markets manipulated most notably since the 1930s, when FDR seized gold and then he used that gold to fund the Exchange Stabilization Fund, which, by the way, gives marching orders to the Federal Reserve. Not a lot of people know about it. And then the remaining gold was put into the IMF, funding the IMF. Ever since, we've seen a vast manipulation of gold. I mean, we saw it for hundreds of years. Banker barons would, lend out IOU notes, 100 pieces of paper on one piece of gold. And then there would be a bank run and people would realize, hey, there's no gold in the vaults. What's going on? I have this IOU note. What banks do best is manipulate, and what governments and central banks do best is manipulate. And everything's fake, everything's artificial. And the gold market since 2012 as well, we've seen a very artificial bear market. And I wouldn't even call it as bearish as I would just, it's overly manipulated, it's completely controlled. And we're seeing this with most good markets. I'm super bullish on gold and silver long term, because it's wealth insurance. It's protection of your purchasing power. It's not meant to be an investment. So I think overall, as the banks shove that gold and silver under the water like a beach ball, you're getting that beach ball effect, and you will see that bounce. And I think that that's really important for people to understand, is that, yeah, if the banks manipulate it down, what's going to happen when the banking system goes down? Well, they can manipulate it no longer, and there's so much more use case. There's scarcity of gold. There is demand for gold. And then all the use case comes back using it as a trade mechanism. And same with silver. I mean, I think silver is the most undervalued. If you look at charts over history, the silver gold ratio shows that in crashes and booms and busts, you see silver always prevail a little bit higher than gold. And I think that silver is probably one of the most bullish things I could possibly imagine that's physical. I think that we need to diversify, though. So it's not just like gold and silver. It's not just platinum or palladium. It's not just, cryptocurrency. There's capital gains, there's wealth insurance, there's cash flow. And then, of course, there's your own sustainability in life as an independent, free human being, someone that is able to decentralize your life, be self-sustainable, and be responsible most of all, because freedom and responsibility play hand in hand.
Absolutely. And a lot of these worlds are starting to merge, and we're starting to see some of those things come together. Like, for instance, I've recently been storing my silver on a blockchain based system, and I've been issued a card that I can spend just like you would spend any Visa card, or essentially it's storing the silver in a safe vault. And I think moving forward, that's going to be huge in the future. Is blockchain based gold and silver distribution systems. But anyways, Josh, I know you got a lot coming up. We got Anarchapulco coming up in February. What else you got coming up next month, or things that people can look forward to from World Alternative Media?
Dan, it's we're really living the life being independent media and being able to go to news stories, talk to people all the time, interesting people constantly 24/7, have all these amazing people watching us and listening to us. It's living the dream, really. And in the next month, I'm going to be going to several places, including California, where I'll be meeting with G. Edward Griffin and Jeff Berwick and others, hopefully yourself, Luke Rudowski, others. Then, I got a Miami trip coming up, where I'm going to be talking with a whole bunch of people on at a blockchain event. Also, up to Canada, and then Anarchapulco. And it's amazing. There's so much coming up. I can't even keep track of it. From day to day, I don't know what I'm going to do the next day, but it always works out. And you know how it is. It's just living the life in the independent media world and trying to spread truth one day at a time, and hope that people are listening and take note.
Awesome. Well, I know you're on track to hit that 100,000 subscriber mark, and you're probably going to hit it by the end of the year. So, folks, if you're not subscribed to World Alternative Media yet, be sure to do so. I'll have a link located in the description below. So, Josh, other than that, keep fighting the good fight, and I will probably see you very soon, maybe in California next month.
Yeah, absolutely. And one more thing, Dan, for those watching, I have a bet with someone that I'll hit 100,000 subscribers by January 1st. And people, I need to get to that 100K, or else I'm down a bit of money. And, that means less money can be spent on content and stuff like that. So get me to 100K. Really appreciate it. Thanks, Dan. And keep up the good work yourself.
Thanks, man. Help a guy out, folks. Links will be located in the description below. Once again, thanks for talking to us, man. Take care. We all want truth. The truth will set you free.